Welcome in. Breaking news. Mike Malone is now announced as UNC's next head basketball coach. Some fans are loving it. Some fans are not. And no, that thumbnail that you are seeing on this live stream is indeed really Mike Malone. It's him after the NBA title, winning that at Denver. But look, let's get into this because I think we're listening. If you've been on this channel, we've talked about Mike Malone as a potential hire for UNC to get. We actually mentioned it back in January when UNC first went on that skid on the West Coast trip, losing to Cal and losing to Stanford, that if they did in fact get rid of Hubert Davis, I thought Mike Malone was potentially going to be where they went with this hire. The reason why is he's kind of got this back door. And if you're with us on TikTok, we talked about Mike Malone's kind of like a cousin of the UNC family. He's not directly related to it, hasn't coached at Carolina, didn't go to Carolina. His daughter currently plays volleyball at the university. If you go way back, there's actually an interview of him talking about his dad working with Dean Smith during summer periods as well. So you kind of do have these ties between him and the UNC family of today and the UNC family of legacy and royalty, that of Dean Smith. And I think, honestly, it makes sense. You avoid the buyout. You have an NBA guy who's won an NBA title over the last 3 years, and he does kind of have this backdoor, back road way of being connected to UNC. So I think given where they were 48 hours ago and listening to a lot of what the media has been saying about this hire and what happened with Tommy Lloyd, and Carolina was really getting a bad representation. They're making everybody else in the country money. We've seen Mark Byington sign a new deal. We've seen Nate Oates sign a new deal. We've seen Tommy Lloyd sign a new deal directly related to his advancement talks at Carolina. The Michigan AD came out and said, we are willing to give Dusty whatever he wants to get an extension and that job done. We're not losing him to UNC. So you were seeing this just really bad picture getting painted of North Carolina over the last 48 hours. And I think if this is their pivot to Mike Malone, I think it's honestly a really good pivot. When you look at this, there's two different ways of looking at it. Some fans are going to be out immediately from day one because I think the media pushed Billy Donovan a little too much in saying that he needs to be the next guy. He's the best person that they could get. He needs to be the next coach at UNC. And I think by doing that, you kind of jumped the gun on if it wasn't Billy Donovan. And again, it's obviously not because Mike Malone has the job. You've kind of set Mike Malone up for failure where he has to be really successful immediately from day one. But I think when you look at this, Mike's been a better NBA coach than Billy has. He's got an NBA title over the last 3 years. Billy has made one NBA playoffs in the last 6 years, 8-20 since 2017 in the NBA playoffs. Billy has not been great in his tenure in the NBA. Just plain and simple, it hasn't been good. I think what you're going to see out of Mike Malone at Carolina that fans should be excited about is he has really good connections to Europe. Not only, obviously, his relationship with Nikola Jokic and other European players with the Denver Nuggets, he spent time as an advisor and assistant coach with the Serbian national team. And if you understand how European models work from a recruiting or where they come, you see certain programs in college basketball that have really deep ties to European nationalities and teams. And it's because the European families over there trust them with their players. And when they trust you, they'll give you more players. And that's how it works. You don't step into gyms in Europe just because you're coach A or just because you're coach B. You have to have a relationship with someone they know and they vouch for you. Jokic did that for him in Denver. He's now able to step into Europe with the backing of one of the best NBA players we have in the game today. So I think you see that. I think you'll see that show up at Carolina as well. Outside of that, the style of basketball he runs is going to have to change a bit, but a lot that he did at Denver was very, again, European-esque style with styles of play that came originally out of Spain. A lot of people don't know this, but those Spanish teams that you think of when you think soccer of Barcelona and Real Madrid, La Liga, they have basketball teams, and there's some really, really good basketball teams and a really good fun style of play that they play out of. And a lot of coaches have started pulling these European mindsets from it. And Mike Malone is one of them. And I think you'll see that implemented at Carolina. It's going to be very different than what we saw under Hubert Davis and his time as the coach. Outside of that, the biggest question mark you're going to have is going to be recruiting. And I think the thing that Carolina fans need to look at from this point forward is who is on his staff from this point on. And if he fills out his staff with proven guys from the NBA or guys with college pedigree that can recruit and go into homes, that's more so where you want to see it there was no hire that Carolina was going to get outside of maybe Dusty May and Dan Hurley, which they were never going to get either one of those guys if you're just being honest about it. They could have just immediately come in, had the credibility, and probably the entire fan base would have been behind it and said it'd be successful. Even if you got Tommy Lloyd, even if you got Billy Donovan, I think there was still going to be some people in the fan base, and for good reason, saying you still need to prove that you can win here. And a lot of fans changed quickly on top of it because of how that whole situation ended up finishing. And then you also throw him losing to Michigan in the fashion that they did with Arizona the other night in the Final Four. He was going to have to prove I can win at Carolina. He still has to prove that he can win a national championship. Billy Donovan has to prove that I haven't been in college for 20 years. I still can build successful teams that make Final Fours. And Mike Malone's going to be in the same boat. So either way, whoever was coming in besides maybe May or Hurley was going to have to prove that they can win at Carolina. They can win it in college basketball for the fan base to truly get around them. I think he's going to have success. I really want to see who the rest of the staff is from this point on. I think when you look at the players currently on UNC, Dennis has entered the portal. Jaden Young has entered the portal. Mingo's reopened his recruitment. And I think, though, with guys like Derek Dixon, guys like Vasar, guys like Jaren even potentially coming in off the bench, even Luka as a potential catch-and-shoot three threat, I think there are pieces that Malone can keep with this current roster and build out the way that he built those rosters in Denver that can have success. I just don't think you can ask Jaren and Luka to be the main guys, which means you're still going to have to go find a true five. I think Vasar in a Mike Malone system where he can stretch out as a four, Vasar's proven he can pass it. He can shoot the three at a consistent high level. I don't think he's really a five in today's college basketball game. If you want to win and bang and win national championships, I think he struggled with that. I think Carolina really had 2 fours this year and just didn't have a true center. And that's what got them in trouble a lot of the times against bigger and more physical teams. Henry can definitely be a four in this system that Malone's probably going to run in Chapel Hill. He's going to have to get a legit five. He's going to have to get a Krivas. He's going to have to get a Mara. He's going to have to get someone like that, a Terrace Reed at UConn, to truly anchor defensively down in the paint, hit the offensive glass, and be physical. But Vasar can absolutely be a stretch four. Dixon can very much so be similar to Jamal Murray. He's really good off the bounce. He's great in the pick and roll. That's where we saw Dixon at his best. So I think if you're Carolina now, you're looking at the rest of this staff. Who else does he bring in? And then you're looking at who stays and who goes in the portal. I think for me, honestly, Dixon, Vasar, and Powell are the main three, in my opinion, that you do want to come back. I think you could replace someone like Jaren, but if he goes to an off-the-bench role or he's not this main guy, he's just a 3-and-D guy like we saw him at Alabama, I think he can have more success. I just don't know what all of this is going to look like. They did get this done right before the transfer portal opens, which obviously that's going to be in about 24 hours officially. But we do know that people have already entered the name in the portal, already getting recruited, already going on visits. And in some cases, people have already signed to their new thing. So Carolina couldn't wait on Billy Donovan to waste basically another week. I think going with Malone is a safer bet. I think Malone is going to have really, really good experience and honestly, I think he's going to have success at Carolina. I think this is a good hire for them and where they pivot to bring Mike Malone in. And for me, not to be, ageist or go against the age. I think when you look at Billy, he's already in his 60s. It's not that Mike Malone is that much younger, but he is 54. He could be coaching for the next 15 years if this is successful. So in essence, if it goes really well, and some people have brought up, well, if it goes really well, he's going to take another NBA job. Yeah, but it went really well. If he's taking another NBA job in 3 years, that means he's probably had really good success at Carolina. Because if you do, as an NBA coach, go back to college and not have success after being fired in the NBA, you're probably not going to get that call to be a head coach. Orlando Magic was supposedly interested in him too. I think he probably, from what I've heard, he was going to be able to get that deal done, and it was coming down to Orlando or UNC. Him picking UNC over continuing to pursue NBA jobs, I think is a massive sign that he is going to come there. He wants to stay. He wants to build a program. He wants to do this the right way. He already obviously has family in Chapel Hill. So I think this is a no-brainer for anybody outside of college basketball, anybody outside of the UNC traditional family. But no, I think this is really good. Quality touch. What's up, Jonathan? Yeah, Dame Sarr. Yeah, he's from he played in those Spain leagues. So look, man, I think honestly this is a really good hire for Carolina. I think what they've done here is kind of bridge this success. And again, too, final thing here, and I'm jumping because we're live, but when you look at Hubert's tenure at Carolina, the biggest thing, I know fans have talked about the player development and losing guys in the portal and not having a good staff. And there's a lot of things that you could point to that Hubert did not do well. And there's things you could point to that Hubert did do well. I don't think anybody can argue that the X's and O's at Carolina over the last couple of years have been less than desirable. You are absolutely going to get an upgrade from an X and O standpoint with Mike Malone. It's not even a question. Mike Malone is a fantastic X and O's coach. He's a fantastic strategist. He's fantastic at in-game adjustments. We've seen that in his time at Denver. And I think when you look at Hubert, and not to make this a Malone versus Hubert situation, but I just think what you were missing with Hubert was the X's and O's, was the attention to detail, was the accountability. Malone checks all three of those boxes. The biggest question for Malone is going to be the recruiting, and is he able to adapt and adjust to college basketball landscape? I think the mirror, or the thin glass in between the NBA and college, is the thinnest it's ever been, and it's just going to continuously get thinner and thinner until eventually it's just broken, and we finally call college basketball what it is, and it's a minor league pro team. And so that's the question. But again, that then points to, does he fill out the staff to adjust those holes? And people talk about coaches that do everything. There's no coach in college basketball that is taking care of everything on a day-to-day basis. He's the attention to detail guy. He's the X's and O's guys. He's recruiting. He's player developing. There's no coach in college basketball that does everything. Good coaches and good programs have a coach that does what they do well, and their staff are the people who are able to kind of cover up the, not misfortunes, but cover up the places that they lack. And I think that's where Malone has to do. And the biggest thing is going to be getting people on the staff that can help him recruit and have that adjustability in college basketball today, coming down from the NBA. So I think from X's and O's standpoint, you got significantly better. I don't think Carolina is going to go in this one and done era. Let's just get a bunch of 5 stars and produce them for the NBA, because that's not what Denver was under Malone. So I think you're going to see more of a European older guy, big and physical, play really good basketball, Spanish-style European basketball. We're going to be deep. We're going to have really good X's and O's. We're going to have in-game adjustments, and it's going to be great. I really think that this is going to work out for Carolina. I think this is a good hire for them. But ultimately, we've got to see it play out. We've got to see it play out. Malone still has a lot of work to do. Hopefully, he's already in Chapel Hill, getting wheels down, boots on the ground, and ready to go. But I do think Carolina, for where they were 48 hours ago to now be here with Mike Malone as your next head coach, someone who won an NBA title just 3 years ago, I think it's a fantastic get. I think it's going to work. And finally, the final point on this, I think it's great if Malone does indeed come in and plays a style of basketball like what we're seeing him do in Denver, and what at least it appears to be what he's going to do. I think as far as it pertains to the triangle, you've got 3 teams between Duke, Carolina, and NC State that I think are all going to play 3 completely different brands of basketball. Duke is clearly on the one and done, have as much NBA talent as possible and get these guys ready for the league. Now, whether that wins or doesn't win, that's for them to decide if they want to stick with it or not. But nonetheless, we're not going to see this complete just blow up of one and done era in Durham. And so you've got that. I think NC State with Gainey is going to be super slow, grinded out, almost Virginia-esque with Tommy Bennett. Gainey is such a defensive-minded guy that I think you'll see that's what NC State's style of basketball is. And then Carolina, I think, is going to be that older, not as known 5-star recruits just constantly through the board, but they're going to play really good basketball and be super deep and super sound. And I think that, in essence, is what Carolina fans want most. I personally, as a UNC fan and grad, I don't want to become Duke, where we have 4 5-stars and 5 draft picks every year, but we don't play in a national championship game for over a decade. I don't personally want that. I don't mind the defensive grind it out, but I also, if we can have offense and have fun stuff to watch, I think that's going to be great too. So I think what you're getting with Malone is perfect. I think what the ACC and specifically the Triangle ACC schools, they're all going to play different styles. I think they all can work, and all 3 programs are going in the right direction. I think it's fantastic. I honestly think this is a fantastic hire. I think it's fantastic for Carolina. I think the fans, there are some who are going to be on board and ready to get going. There are some who are going to be against it. You've got to just see how this plays out. But I think this is going to be great. I'm excited to watch it next year. And UNC, this is going to be interesting. And whether it works or not, we're going to have stories. We're going to have stuff to talk about. So it's going to be good. But again, guys, look, appreciate you being here. Please like the video, share the video, get your comments in. How do you feel about Mike Malone coming in now as Carolina's next head coach? And again, yes, that thumbnail that you see on this video is really Mike Malone after winning the NBA championship. Very different than what Hubert Davis is. So go back and watch that video of his parade stuff. It's honestly just pretty funny. But I think this is going to be a good hire. I think Carolina's got what they needed to get, and I think Malone's going to do a great job. But hit subscribe, and your name in the portal. We will see you guys on the next one. Thanks.